What was the most effective thing about this trial, in your opinion?
Well, I think it was Johnny Depp's attorney, Camille Vasquez. I think she was very, very competent on the, on her examination and cross-examination of witnesses. She did a fantastic job. She did the cross-examination of Amber Heard. And I think this is critical. When you've got a female alleging that they're a victim of domestic violence, you have to be really intentional in how you approach it. Now, they had the fortunate aspect of it, of this being, the whole thing is about her lying about this domestic violence. So she's a liar, that's the narrative they want to push. So they get to go after her really hard. If this is an actual domestic abuse criminal case, you can't go after the victim, even if they're lying. If there's evidence that they're a victim, you got to be really careful because the jury's going to be really sympathetic. But since the whole narrative was that she's a liar, you go after her hard, and you do it with a female attorney because you let a woman attack another woman on the stand. Because if you have a guy doing it, you'll get some jurors they'll just find that improper. Yeah. I don't think a man should talk to a woman that way.
I know.
But Camille Vasquez was able to shut her down. And the other thing about Camille Vasquez that I think really helped is she's a pretty woman, right? She's an attractive lady. Yeah. And when you've got Amber Heard, who's a movie star, a former model, she's a conventionally attractive woman too, but also a narcissist. So when you've got another female in the room who is at least as attractive or even more attractive than her, that pissed her off. And I think that piece of it was really, really effective in breaking through her shell and exposing her as just this manipulative, for lack of a better word, bitch to the jury.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that woman went after her really hard too. I was surprised because normally you don't see women fight like that.
Right.
And she went after Amber Heard so hard that they were like, she must be dating Johnny Depp. She has to be dating, but she wasn't dating him, was she? As far as you know,
not that I know of. I believe she's dating. I think she has she's dating someone else.
Oh.
That was reported at some point. I don't know how long the relationship's been going on, but that's the media, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the mainstream media. Will if a woman steps out of line, right?
Yeah.
Then the mainstream media will become the most sexist organization on the planet.
Yeah.
Well, she's out of line, therefore she must be dating this man. It would be completely unethical for her to be in a sexual relationship with a client. And so, that had to be the story.
Amazing. She went after her so hard, man. Even the experts, the local news will have these expert women on to talk about, well, they must be dated, right? And the experts were like, yeah, I saw them give a hug. Johnny and the lawyer hug. I looked at the hug and I can tell it was something going on. It was just so like they're lovers. I'm like, these experts have no idea what they're talking about.
Not at all. Look, I don't have an extensive history as an attorney. I worked small town. I took, whatever case you can kind of find. And I did not do a ton of in-court work, but I can tell you after any hearing that you go to where you win that hearing for your client, it doesn't matter if they're a man, if they're a woman, if they're old, if they're young, you're just like, there's a big rush of energy and adrenaline. And when a day goes good, you give people hugs, man, because you're in this trench together. You get to know this person. You get to believe their story and work with this person. And you're trying to bring them some measure of justice. When things go right, you hug them. It doesn't mean you're sleeping with them.
I know. What a mess. I wanted to ask you, were there any big, what was the biggest car wreck moment in this trial, especially for Amber? The one thing I want to start out with, I was surprised that, I was not aware of it, that she got on the stand. Amber Heard was called to the stand by her lawyer. Is that normal?
Yeah. In civil cases, a lot of times what you need the person to do is to get up and tell their story.
Oh, okay.
And in this case in particular, since it's about defamation and it's about who's telling the truth, what you really want to do is convince the jury that your person is believable. And for me, I said from the get-go, and I still think it's true, that the outcome of this case depended on if the jury just generally believed Johnny Depp and liked him, or believed Amber Heard and liked her. So you want to put them on the stand to build that relationship with the jury and tell the story. But the problem is they had Amber Heard.
Yeah, I was thinking in this moment, maybe they should have just kept her quiet and not speak at all, so you wouldn't get the right impression about her. Yeah, and I think what we saw and what some of the other lawyers on who watched with me, I think they agreed. That's the reason they called her so early in the case, because they went into Amber's side of the case after Johnny Depp's side rested. They called that crazy doctor lady in. And then once she got off the stand, they called Amber Heard second. And for me, I would have waited to call, like, if not considering Amber Heard, but just in general, right, I'd want my client to be one of the last people to go, because I'd want the jury to have the impression of my client as a victim, as this person who's suffering through this thing, that she's being falsely accused or defamed or whatever. That's the narrative I'd want to push. So for me, I would have put her sister on first and her on last. But then in this case, you have just the reality of these people, and the facts were just not good. So I think they put her up at the front to try and bury her personality behind the rest of the testimony. Yeah. Very interesting. I remember when they showed a picture of her where he's supposed to have physically attacked her. She had a bruised face, I think, and an arm. I didn't believe that. It looked like she put that on herself, and it didn't seem real. I didn't believe that.
Yeah, I think that was one of her biggest problems is, they would show these pictures and talk about this horrific abuse that he did. And then they pull it up and it's like, well, it's a little yellow spot like right here. It's like, you're talking about a man punching you until you're unconscious with rings on his hand, and you've got maybe a little yellow bruise right here. No, I'm sorry. Looks like you hit a cabinet or something with your head.
I thought maybe her doll had lit her on the head or something, It was so light.
It was it was nothing. That was a big problem for their case. And that bruise on the arm, she talked about, he got that bruise from being grabbed. It's anybody who's been grabbed knows that if you get grabbed hard enough to get bruised, the bruising happens where the fingertips are, because that's where all the pressure is. Yeah. This was this like round thing. It looks like you got hit by a softball or something. It doesn't look like you were grabbed at all.
What a mess. Another, and I want to know what you think about this. Sure. Current moment is when they called Johnny Depp's ex-girlfriend up. I think it was ex. And they had somehow or another said that Johnny Depp had pushed her down the stairs and was violent with her. And she got up and she's like, no, that's not true at all. I fell down the stairs and I was yelling and he came and helped me. He didn't cause me. What was that all about?
Yeah, that was interesting. That was Kate Moss. And there was this story from years and years ago that Johnny Depp had with Kate Moss, where she had fallen down the stairs, like you said. But what happened is apparently Johnny Depp had told that story to Amber Heard at some point in her relationship. And then she created, it seems, I was asking other people if we could find any evidence that this rumor about Johnny Depp pushing Kate Moss down the stairs existed. And we couldn't. Maybe it's out there, but we couldn't find anything before when Amber Heard told that story in the trial that happened earlier in the UK. Right. So she seems to have taken this memory and twisted it and created this nasty rumor about Johnny Depp, and then tried to say that it was something that she heard from somewhere. But that was ugly. But yeah, Kate Moss coming out and actually saying, yeah, this is my ex. And he was never violent towards me at all. And you found that just with witness after witness, even the ones against Johnny Depp, they would ask him, have you ever seen Johnny Depp be violent to anybody? No. You've seen him be violent to Amber Heard? No. Well, I mean, you'd think at some point somebody would have seen something if this was going on the way she told it.
Yeah.
But the real biggest car wreck moment of the case, though, actually happened before the case got to the jury. Amber Heard filed that counterclaim against Johnny Depp, where she says that his attorney lied about her in an article.
Right.
And because she filed that counterclaim, one of the things she said was she suffered emotional damages, right? That's why she was entitled to recovery, was emotional damages. She asked for $100 million. And because of that, that's why we had the psychiatrists on the stand, and they had done mental evaluations of Amber Heard. If she had not filed that counterclaim, her mental health would not have been at issue in the trial, and they wouldn't have had the doctors coming up to talk about how she had PTSD or didn't have PTSD, how she has these personality disorders. They wouldn't have been able to do that. And I think that really, really killed their case.
Why didn't her lawyer know that in advance, that it was going to hurt the case? And you would think that the lawyer would have known that. I know that, and I'm black and slow. I knew it.
I think her lawyers probably advised her that it was a risk, but she said, hey, this guy is suing me for $50 million. I'm going to sue him back. I'm the victim. I'm going to do this. And we saw hallmarks of her having a ton of control over the case throughout the whole trial. She swapped out a couple lawyers, probably because they said stuff like, this is a bad idea, you know?
Oh, I see.
And sometimes you get a client who believes that they know better than the lawyer how to manage things. And, you know, to her credit, she's managed her career and her image up until all this. So she probably thought she could deal with it. She probably thought I'm pretty successful. I did this thing. But the best part of success is humility and realizing your limits and knowing when you need someone else to take things over.
Yeah, what an ego.
Yeah.
The one thing about the girlfriend saying, no, he did not push me down, before they put her on the stand, do they get a chance to talk to the person that's coming up to me? And they could have asked her, did he push you down the stairs, before they put her on the stand, and she would have said no, right?
Sometimes. In this case, it happened in a little bit of a weird way. And this was actually kind of unique to the Johnny Depp case. So they would not have been able to list Kate Moss and bring her in at the beginning of trial. Because if Johnny Depp wanted to call Kate Moss in during his case, she would have just been boosting his credibility, saying, oh, he's a good guy or whatever. And you're not really allowed to do that unless your credibility is attacked.
Right.
So they were only able to bring her because Amber Heard mentioned her on the stand.
Oh.
So in her testimony, when she said, all I could think about was Kate Moss. And what you saw happen was Johnny Depp's team immediately, I think his main lawyer, Ben Chu, he went like this. He looked back to the other lawyer and he went, yes. They were excited because now in their rebuttal part, they could bring Kate Moss in, and they couldn't do that beforehand, but she opened the door to it by talking about it. So now they could say, nope, that's not the story. And so it was another one of those mistakes. They could have tried to contact Kate Moss, but she wasn't on the initial, I don't believe she was on the initial witness list. So they wouldn't have had the ability to do a deposition because she probably wasn't going to come in unless Amber screwed it up.
Interesting.